Hi, it's Matt Kendall here, and today I've got Mary William, who did my online IEMT Practitioner course in November 2020. We're currently recording this at the beginning of January. It's January the 8th of 2021, which sounds very futuristic.
Yeah.
Mary does have a background in NLP, which we're going to dig into. And again, if you've never seen one of these interviews before, these interviews are to get real, genuine, honest, and authentic feedback from somebody who's done the IEMT Practitioner course and how they've used IEMT in the real world with their own clients. So good afternoon, Mary. How are we doing today?
Good afternoon, Matt. How are you?
I am well. Like I say, I've just come back from the dentist, and it's going to cost me thousands and thousands and thousands. My teeth look great
Oh.
on camera. It's just what's behind the scenes is not brilliant. Well, we're talking implants and things. It's all fun. Okay, so first of all, if people haven't heard these sort of interviews before, I ask 4 questions and we talk around them. What they were doing before, how they heard about IEMT, what they thought of the training, how's it been since using it. They're the 4 questions which I ask. So, Mary, before you did IEMT, what was your background in therapy and what were you doing?
Yeah. So I have a background for many years in education before I started in therapy, higher education, then further education. But that's actually how I developed a passion for working with people and making a difference on a one-to-one basis. So when it comes to after working in education, I qualified as a life coach with the Coaching Academy, and I specialize in relationship coaching. And I work with all sorts of relationships, but especially couples.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm also an NLP practitioner, licensed with NLP for Kids, and I use NLP coaching, relationship coaching. I integrate them all together. I also have done other courses like EFT, timeline therapy, and wherever relevant, I integrate all my work. So it's just a holistic experience for the client as relevant.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best thing really, because you get some people who are just, I'm a hypnotist or I'm this, and I think that having a multidisciplinary approach is always the best way. Okay, so you got a strong background in education, NLP trained, you've done also multiple different courses. This kind of answers that question already, but how did you find out about EMDR? Sleeping with the enemy. How did you find out about IEMT?
Right. I think to start with, somehow you were on my Facebook, or I added you as a friend and sort of saw something, like initially saw something, but it didn't mean anything to me. I mean,
Heartbreaking.
and then like, yeah, I mean, but you looked like, yeah, some important guy there doing some good work, training. And so that is the very start. But like sometimes I read posts, but it didn't mean much at that time to me.
Yeah.
And the director of the NLP for Kids organization, Gemma Bailey, you probably know her.
Oh, I know very well. Yeah.
Yes. So she invited you to a meeting with all practitioners, on whom I was one, to tell us about IEMT and that was actually a really good idea, because it was just a meeting dedicated to you telling us about what it is, how it works, how the training works, and so on. And that's where I started being interested. Oh yeah, that sounds really interesting. I am, however, a type of person who likes to check things and double check things. I'm not so quick in making decisions.
Yeah.
It's not always a great thing, but I'm sure there are people out there who are like me. And I thought, I'm not going to jump into booking a training straight away. I need to sort of grasp this. I already was very interested at the time.
Yeah.
But how will it work for me? How does it sort of fit in with everything I'm doing? And I started sort of, you have some videos on YouTube. I started sort of watching those. And then a little while later, one of the NLP practitioners who attended this meeting that Gemma invited you to has done your training, the last face-to-face one. And I said, by the way, how was that? And she said, fantastic, brilliant. It's a tool. I use it all the time. And as soon as she said that, I said, tell me how to use it. And that day I emailed you straight away to say, when's your next training? I was like, absolutely sure by then I'd like to do this training.
Perfect. So Gemma Bailey runs NLP for Kids and People Building, I believe it's called.
That's right. Yes.
Gemma's spoken at my events for since the beginning, really. You know, many times, and so I did an online presentation about IEMT to her practitioners, and we've had a boatload of people from your place now. So you found out about it. You sat the webinar. But I do like people who do their research, and also people who have a healthy amount of skepticism. Because I believe in the self-development world, there's an awful lot of promises and there's an awful lot of hype. Now, in IEMT, we like to keep away from all of these things because we want to move it into the more medical, I suppose, if that's the correct term. But we want to move it away from like the sensationalism of NLP, a lot of the sensational NLP, and a lot of sort of like the hypnosis kind of, those kind of worlds. And we want to make it something else, much more sort of mainstream, much more. Hopefully one day we'll be able to use this with doctors, and if we get into the NHS, it'd be absolutely fantastic. But obviously everything's a little bit busy at the moment with the because now IEMT is a CPD course, so when you attend an IEMT training, you do get a CTP certificate. I think it's 14 hours, something like that, for attending. So now we are able to actually advertise more to the medical fraternities, so they can use it as part of their continued professional development on their annual basis. So you spoke to somebody who had already did the course.
Yeah.
And I always believe the best thing to do for any kind of training or therapy is via recommendation. Somebody who's been through it, somebody who's experienced it. So you came on my first online training. So we did it online. Of course, we can't do anything offline because the world's closed down for the time being. So let's go through it. So basically, what did you think of the course? How did you find the content? How did you find the timings? How did you find the presentations? How did you find the exercises? Go. How did you find the whole thing?
Yeah. It was amazing, just to describe it overall, but I was actually very pleased to find that you're going to run it online, because I was just thinking, I'm ready now. I'm sure I want to do this, and I don't want to wait months and months until this COVID situation is over and I can attend the face-to-face. I'm ready. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so that was brilliant. And that's the first thing. And I guess the timing worked so well because it's over 3 days.
Yeah.
It's enough hours so that you immerse in it, but it still doesn't occupy all your day. I still managed to see clients before and after the training on the same day. And it means that I'm not changing my schedule completely. And the fact that it's over 3 days, it gives you some time to sort of reflect, absorb, ask questions. I was very happy with the pace, because I always worry if I don't understand this and then we move on, what do I do? And you have reassured us so much about this from the very beginning, and I felt so much relaxed and at ease, and that helped me so much absorb everything. And I think the fact that you allowed questions throughout, I felt like it doesn't matter if I'm unsure, I'm going to ask a question. You were always very welcoming with any questions that's asked, and simple questions, bigger questions, repeated questions as well. You were absolutely fine with that. And that worked so much well for me. It was really brilliant, because that's the thing. The more at ease you are in a training, the more confident you are in how you absorb it. I like that it was sort of the way it was split. So there were things we were learning every day, but it's not like all the meaty stuff in one day. It was like split evenly and nicely. I also like very much that we managed to work with everyone on the group. I think how you did the breakout rooms and the fact that you kept changing who we pair up with, that was really good, because first of all, we benefit from the experience of others and the different personalities and the different dynamics. And at the end of it, we felt like we're one team. So that was really, really good as well. And and I also liked that the notes we had prior to the training were detailed enough so that we could read before, during, and after. And in a way, there are no missed information. You don't think like, oh, I have to quickly rush and write this, and what if I missed it? There wasn't any of that. So that was lovely too.
Perfect. Yeah, because what I do is I supply the notes or the manual. As it is, but the manual, what I've done is that, excuse me, when I did my training, we got a manual, and I went through it again recently, and it doesn't seem to be in any sort of particular order, to be perfectly honest. And I found it quite confusing when I first learned this. So I thought, this is not how I learn. I like to learn step by step, bit by bit. And so I break everything down into a module or an exercise. Is that module and there's another word I have?
Model and
model. Yeah. That's it. So model has a model and module. And I break everything down and we go through things sort of bit by bit. Because as you know, in the course, there are the main modules, which are like the eye movements. And then there's different models, which we use the eye movements in, which we don't need to go into detail about those because that's a lot of detail. But the different exercises that we use. And so I also wanted to do it so you could read it beforehand to familiarize yourself, especially with the patterns of chronicity and the way that we work and the structure that we have. But also when we refer back to it, when you're working, you can just go to that particular bit. So say you're doing the integrator, the complex pattern, you just go to that part and it gives you the step-by-step, literally the language of what to say, the framework to which to use. So you're not trying to search through different things. And also the way that I do the training is the way I do my sessions. So everything I do on day one is what I do in the first session. Everything which I teach in day two, which is what I do in the second session. And then day three are the different models which I incorporate, and also the certification processes. So I like to have that kind of timeline to it, so everything builds upon each other. So let me ask you, you've got an education in NLP and stuff like that. How did you actually find the materials and the techniques that we were using?
They've been brilliant and amazing. First of all, because how easy and simple to understand them, and also how fast you could start seeing results. And one thing when I work with clients, it's easier for them to know what they want to work on, what they want to let go of, all that, but it's the how. And I felt that the IEMT, it does the how for them. It gets them release what they want to release, or like minimize a memory, or just push aside the memory. So it sort of does the how for them. And I felt that this is brilliant. When I started working with clients, first in my case studies and after now, because I'm certified now, so started to work with more clients now on that. Like clients say, this is amazing. I can't believe it. It's too good to be true. That's brilliant. Like you get this response and you already see it on their face without them even saying it. And so that was lovely, really.
I think I never tire of the first eye movement that I do. And so for everyone watching, when I first work with a client, the first thing that we do is the simple pattern of basically hold a negative memory, record the submodalities, do a simple pattern, recalibrate and repeat if necessary. I never tire of so we don't do any sort of rapport building in that sense. It's not like, so what do you want? It's sort of come in, do you have a memory which just stands out? Then you do it. And do you find they're often just kind of quite gobsmacked and they are looking for the memory? It's great, isn't it? But literally looking for the memory. I love doing that. Okay, so as part of your certification, you go and do 2 case studies. So, and a case study is 2 roughly hour sessions with someone who you don't know, you haven't worked with. And what I really love about case studies, most people, like 99% of the population, have no idea about eye movement therapy, how it works, or what it does.
Yeah.
And so, with a lot of, I believe, other therapy types, you can create false positive results because they know the sort of thing that you're looking for. They know how to appease you.
Yeah.
With IEMT, they don't know what's going to happen. So therefore they can't play along. They can't,
Yeah.
and as you said, it's the sensual acuity by sensory acuity, not sensual acuity, the sensory acuity by looking at people's skin tone, their body language, how their eyes are moving, their breathing rates, everything. As you're working with them, things which are out of their conscious control, you can see working as you're working with them. So how did you find, well, you were working with clients before and after the sessions and stuff anyway. So with your case studies, for example, can you, without obviously giving too many sort of details about the people, how did you find taking IEMT from the training room, the Zoom room, to real world clients, and how did the process go?
So it was brilliant. It was actually very easy. Like when you start the training, you think, how will I get good at that by the end of 3 days, and then do the case studies? However, I guess the level of practice and the fact that the training was online and we're meeting clients online at the moment, that made it brilliant, because we have seen where we might go wrong in practice while doing the training. How does it look on the screen and all that? And because of the level of practice and the level of the space to ask questions and so on, you start thinking, will I really be good at it? But as soon as I started it, it felt like I've been doing it before. And one of the things is, I prepared myself. That's what I'm going to do in the first session. But I felt myself so relaxed to deal with whatever comes up, because you could be working on an imprint and then another memory comes up. And because you spoke to us a lot about this in the training, I felt that it's so natural and spontaneous when I started working with the clients in the case studies. I could also, like, as I say, watch their skin tone, their body language, and all that. But also what I liked is, for example, one of the case studies, I worked with a client who had a certain fear because of a certain incident. And it so happened that a week after we have finished, that she arranged to be in a place so where she's going to be exposed to this fear, if it like these circumstances that creates this fear. And the fear didn't come. She was so excited. It was such an amazing experience.
Oh,
so the fact that she comes back to say this fear has gone completely, and as a result, I'm able to have fun, enjoy myself, enjoy going out with kids, enjoy doing things that I was holding back and unable to do. That in itself is the evidence. So it's not just how you see the response in the session, it's what they go and do as a result in their life, how their life is freed, and they are sort of unstuck and can move forward because they have pushed this thing away.
Absolutely. And a lot of the stuff that we do, excuse me, in IEMT is about anticipatory issues. So like your client there, she was fearing a certain situation. Now that situation could be everything from getting in a lift to sexual issues, to intimacy problems, to seeing certain people, to going out, to getting in a car, to driving. These are all things in the future. And then what we do is we take that future anxiety, that future problem, and we go back to the imprint of how they learned how to be this way. And so a lot of other therapies, because my background's in hypnotherapy and stuff like that, we try and put on big, happy, brave feelings onto a problem, but you're just creating an issue there. You're creating a time bomb. With IEMT, if you sort of minimize the issue, there is no issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you do the thing, you may feel a bit of anxiety if you're doing it, but there's that fear, those feelings, that response has now been severed in a sense. And so you can experience it based on the evidence in front of you and not the emotional connection to the past. So I've done work with people, for example, who have lift phobias because they got trapped in a lift during 9/11 in the closed vicinity.
Wow.
Yeah. And people who have been on aircraft when there's been like bad turbulence and bad, issues and stuff like that. And so I've done an awful lot of things sort of like that. And when you start to address these things by, instead of saying you are brave, you're a confident person, just work out the problems. There might be some belief systems behind that. And I'll give you the tools, because the things that we look for essentially are a negative memory or negative memories, negative emotions, which we work on. Now, we always say IEMT doesn't work on emotion. It works on imprints, which are memories of how you learned how to feel that way. Identities of themselves and identities of other people. They're the four main things. And all around that, what is based on are these 5 patterns of chronicity. Now, I noticed, because I've been reading your case studies, how did you find knowing about and using these patterns of chronicity as well to help people change?
Yeah, it was sort of really good. So with a couple of clients I worked with, the maybe man came up a lot.
Yeah.
And you could see how they could be stuck because of that, because they are unsure, indecisive,
Yeah.
and they doubt themselves, doubt others, doubt circumstances. And when you actually sort of get to address that, you could see that they are picking up on that. Oh, yeah, I need to be decisive. I need to be accurate. I need to be specific. So that's brilliant, because also indirectly it shows them where could they be stuck, what's getting in the way. But it's also a subtle way of doing it. So it was really brilliant. Yeah.
Excellent.
I also liked, like, the identity work was something like I enjoyed so much and is so unique about IEMT.
Yeah.
Because in coaching and therapy generally with clients, I can see that many of the limiting beliefs they have turn into identity statements. It's not just sort of a belief sitting there.
Yeah.
It turns into an identity statement. And identity is like, when you make a change to identity, it's a real higher level of change.
Yeah.
And IEMT does that easily, smoothly, and almost quickly. And once people shift their identity beliefs and identity statements, that empowers them so much.
Yeah.
Not only when they shift their own identities, it's the identity of others that I felt, because I work with on relationships, the relationship coaching.
Yeah.
When there's a breakup in relationships, there's always this association with this other person.
Of course.
And especially one of the clients I worked with, her partner left her for another person, and she knew this other person. So she had this fear of, what if I bump into her? How will I feel?
Yeah.
And she had this fear all the time. And when you do identity work, identities of others, now this person is no longer significant in her life. So she could just pave the way for herself to move forward positively without any niggly things coming there.
Absolutely. I've done, in fact, I did an interview with somebody who got divorced 10 years or something like that, goes a while ago anyway. But they share a child, but the child's grown up. The child's, I think, early 20s. But they are sort of still in each other's lives a little bit. But he was a very sort of vindictive, controlling person. This is, like I said, this is an interview. Everything I talk about is published. Yeah. And we worked on that. And she went from sort of fearing him and stuff like that to just realizing he's a bit pathetic in a way. And he's still trying to get attention and stuff, although she's married to somebody else now and stuff. And so what the important word, the operative word that you said there was significant. And what we achieve, or one of the aims that we look for in IEMT, is to take significant issues to make them less or insignificant. So we're not trying to make people feel good. We're just trying to incapacitate their way of feeling negative or bad or significant about something, because if the problem isn't there, you don't need to overpower it. And that's what I found the biggest difference between IEMT and EMDR. With EMDR, you work on the negative issue, then you try and install a positive belief system or feeling. With IEMT, we just focus on the negative, because once you undo the negative, you can actually go and relearn what this thing is, and you create your belief systems then based on that, rather than trying to install something that's good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also wanted to say that PTSD model was also a brilliant one in IEMT, because that's one thing. I was coming across many clients who have a trauma in their life, and you don't want them to just continue to talk about it on and on and just relive it and re-traumatize themselves. And I think it's a simple, clear, very accurate model that helps you just work on it.
And have you used that with clients yet?
And I have, but not as a lot as the others, but I have.
And how did you find working with the, just to sort of very quickly, if people who are watching, the way that we do PTSD and IEMT, we have almost like a clock face in a sense. It's different segments, and we go through the responsibilities, the actions of the person involved and other people, and we're trying to uncover what we call the linchpin, and that's the part of the personality which seeps out, or the thing which everything hangs on. And because when you apply the eye movements to that, it will tend to have the greatest effect. And also, by doing this, is quite a logical process, because if somebody's been attacked or raped or whatever it might be, if you just say what happened, they're likely to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And they can't. When you're doing it like this, did you find that when they do it, the clients got really involved in it and became fascinated by the process, because they're using different parts of their brain, they're using more their cortex, I believe, on a more logical process. So how did you find doing it with the clients?
Yes, very positive, because they are not too emotionally involved. Yeah. And discovering the linchpin is very freeing, because sometimes trauma is like a heavy burden that you don't know what to do about it. And once you know what about it, that's making it like a post-traumatic stress experience type of thing, you're like, now I know. That was such freeing for the clients. Yeah. Even with myself, when you were explaining the PTSD model in the training, and you said an example, and the example resonated with me in a way, because we had a burglary a few years ago. Someone broke up, and someone broke into our house when we were out. And lots of expensive things were stolen. And in the training, I realized I still have a bit of trauma from that. And when you were just explaining it, I found my linchpin, and immediately it no longer bothers me.
Oh, wow.
So because I experienced it myself, that sort of, I could see the power of it, because I like to experience things myself before I use them with clients.
Well, this is why in the IEMT training, we do a lot of exercises, because I believe it makes you a better therapist if you go through the process yourself. Yeah. Were you on the one where, yes, I think it was the one where that, I've forgotten his name, but the gentleman had an issue with his father-in-law.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, he wrote, I don't know if you've seen, but in the group, he wrote a really nice thing about how, because I think it was his son's birthday. And he said to his son, should we invite the grandparents, which he's never suggested before. And although he still finds him a bit of a bore and everything, he was able to be with him.
Absolutely.
And before, he was the sort of person that would absolutely minimize contact and have them out of their lives and avoid them, to the point where he initiated this was before lockdown, by the way, guys. He initiated the invite to bring them round. And so when you come and do the IEMT training, you get to go through all these processes, and you get to sort out a lot of your own issues, and you get to learn an awful lot about yourself as well, so.
Absolutely, because I was coming to the training thinking, I've done loads of training before, I dealt with most of the things, what am I going to deal with? But funny how it comes up to you, and you think, and there's this and there's that, and you don't remember them like with outside the situation, but as we were in the training, lots of things were coming to mind, and yes, and I want to release that and get rid of that and feel better about that. So it is actually amazing, and it's amazing how much lighter you feel after that. You think, I'm absolutely fine and I'm empowered, but the more you release, the lighter you feel.
Well, it's like if you go for a massage, you might not think you need a massage, but you've always got little things, and once you have that, you feel better. It's like today. So I've been to the hygienist today. Now, to look at my mouth, it looks fine, but they did lots of stuff with the things which I couldn't see and only a specialist could do. And so that's why I often see clients on a yearly basis. I see them once a year for like a tune-up more than anything, which I think is a really good thing. And I think that if you're going for therapy, you shouldn't wait until you need it. In a sense, prevention's better than cure. So if you're having some sort of negative thoughts or feelings that if you go for therapy earlier on, it's going to be much quicker and much cheaper and much less pain than having to deal with it when you are in a more significant or potentially dangerous kind of situation. One thing I want to ask you, I know that these things always go on much longer than I plan. When you do, because when we work with clients in IEMT, we leave a week between two sessions.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you notice the physical and mental difference between the client in that week period?
Absolutely. You could see their face is so much relaxed, a smile on their face. Their whole body language is very different. Their level of excitement and enthusiasm coming to the session is also very different. Absolute massive difference. I did it exactly a week different. Massive difference.
And it's funny because we're not telling them to be positive.
No.
This is just how it feels when you remove stress and anxiety and emotional baggage. This is just how you can feel. It's like I say, after a massage, if you've had things put back into place and stuff, everything just feels much better. Absolutely. So you did one case study. Can you tell us about maybe another case study, maybe some of the people that you've worked with, how that's been in the results you've generated?
Yes, I have been using it sometimes on its own, but sometimes in combination with other things. So I may be doing some coaching and then do 10-15 minutes of IEMT. And some people, everyone likes it. Some people love it more. So it's about, not every client is the same, and the same client is not the same every session. And I think it's lovely to have the tools in your toolbox to use them how they fit. So I have a client who I did a lot of like some coaching and some NLP techniques that worked well. But as soon as I did IMT with her specifically, she said, this eye movement, I want you to do more of that next time. And that was like, she said, that works. I want that. And for her, that was like so effective, and I could see it. I could see the results in everything else, but for her, the results were massive. And so that's brilliant. And the thing is, because you could always do IMT for a shorter period of time, you could use it whenever you feel that's the best intervention. And obviously contracting with the clients and letting them know. But then you say, this is the right tool to bring up now. And yes, there isn't any client who didn't like it. I mean, everyone liked it with varying degrees. And I have seen positive outcomes all through. I haven't come across anyone who hasn't benefited.
How many people do you reckon you've worked with using IEMT since November? So it's only been a few months, hasn't it? We've had Christmas, so
about 15 people.
Okay, so 15. That's to say we've had Christmas as well. That's good going.
Yeah.
And when you say sort of positive results, can you? Because I like sort of tangible technical things. So when you say positive results, how have they sort of manifested in sort of real world things? What sort of positive results have people achieved?
Yeah. So, so for example, one client felt so weak, disempowered, unable to express herself, and that always made her taking a step back. And we worked on the empowerment, and she was like, "Yeah, why have I been doing this before?" She felt confident in herself, able to sort of express herself and not worry. She is not, she wasn't feeling like, oh, I can't say that, or this person is
Okay.
saying that. Some people had results at work as well, sort of not, instead of doubting themselves, being more themselves, that as
Yeah.
well. And again, the identity thing a lot. Many people were, especially in relationships, many people were saying, I am this, I am that. That was getting in the way of them making the changes for more effective communication. So I have seen results where working with couples, they were feeling, we don't know if we can make the changes, into, no, we're positive. It's happening already, so we can move forward.
But that's brilliant. That's nice. And it's what you said before as well, using IEMT. Yes, you can do full sessions, excuse me, or you can use it sparingly and when you need it. And this is, Andrew Austin always says, IEMT makes whatever else you're doing work better.
That's
So
right.
you're doing relationship coaching, bringing IEMT into this will make your relationship coaching better.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so that's why I really like working with NLPers, hypnotherapists, counselors, coaches, because using IEMT, we don't stick to one philosophy. You don't say you have to do this all the time. This is like, it's a suite of tools. It's a suite of techniques that you can use individually. You can use them in combination.
Yeah.
You can do full sessions. You can do parts of sessions, so to say that you're doing a relationship coach and let's just say somebody feels fearful at work and they feel I'm not good enough. Well, you can take that identity, go back to the imprints of the idea, run that. So you think about work now, what's that like? And then you can think about when you think about doing this at work, or you get a feeling, you then put that into the complex or the integrative patterns and work that. And so you can just use, sort of bit by bit. And we also, so when we do the IEMT, like I say, we do these, the models or the modules, which are all the eye movements. And then we have these models that we use it around as well. So we have the episodic time, we have the PTSD, which we already talked about, and we have the physiological state accessing cues. We already talked about the PTSD. Have you used the episodic time and have you used the physiological state accessing cues, and how have they been?
Yeah, I've used the physiological state a lot. And again, you could see the change on the face straight away, because when you get them into the resourceful state, they're like, yeah, actually in control now. I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of my decisions. And taking responsibility and being in control is such an empowering thing.
Yes, of course.
And a number of clients would say, I can use it with my family members. That's like, it's an easy one for them to pick up and say, okay, I can use this with other people. That's been very, very positive, because they feel they could be in the driver's seat. They could be in control. Life is not just going to run and for them, and they are experiencing sadness or whatever. They can shift that.
Yeah. Have you used the episodic time at all?
I have, but not a lot so far. Okay. I love it. I think it's a very good one, and I intend to be using it more. I've used it only a couple of times, and I guess that it's very good because people don't realize how much they achieve.
Yes.
They underestimate everything and then end up looking at, I haven't done anything. And then when you get them to actually see it, they feel so good about themselves, so proud of their achievement. And the good thing about it is you give them this feeling, you show interest in what they achieved, and it's now suddenly becoming like a big thing where they didn't even notice it before.
Absolutely. So just for those who are watching, the episodic time is basically, so maybe say they've had an incident 2 years ago, or they got divorced, got fired, whatever it might be. What we do is we look at what they've actually done and achieved for themselves since then, all the way up into today. So when I'm doing the training, I say the last thing that you've done, which is good for yourself, is to be in the training. When I'm working with a client, I say the last good thing you've done is taking control, and you're here now. So that's the way I do it. And I do about 6 to 10. And it just really changes somebody's perspective from like, well, he left me and then this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. Because one of the patterns of chronicity is being its effect or cause. So they're allowing life to happen to them. If you change it round by saying, well, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? It begins to shift somebody's locus of control, basically. And it starts to put, well, actually, I've done all of this. I can now go on and do more, you know? Just 2 quick things before we finish. I know you've done lots of different trainings with different types of people and stuff before. Now, I've been to a lot of trainings, and a lot of them are quite boring. And so when I try to do my trainings, I try to make them as fun. I stick to the material, but I try to make it as fun as possible. So going through the training, how did it compare to other kind of trainings in terms of the group? I'm not fishing for compliments, but how did you find going through the training itself in terms of enjoyment?
Yeah, the training was brilliant. I honestly think it was brilliant. Your style was brilliant. I think it was very relevant, to the point. It's not too long and it's not too short. That's the main thing, because one of the things that I don't like about other trainings is when you spend hours and hours just doing a little bit. But it was right, the time was right, the level of information was right. So I really enjoyed that. I think when it's online 3 days, or they are like 3 half days, it's brilliant. You get enough information, plus you already have enough time to absorb it, practice it, feel confident, practice it again, ask questions. I like the fact that you allowed lots of opportunities to ask questions. And I also like that you demonstrate it, because I'm the type of person who needs to see how the whole thing will pan out. And definitely that's brilliant. Like if you explain it and say, hey, go to your breakout rooms and do it, I would have been feeling like not very confident. But because we demonstrated it, now I could visualize it, I could see it, I can do it. So definitely that was a great thing.
Yeah, the way that I do a training, basically when we have, because like I say, everything is very modular and model based. So we focus on one thing at a time. And so the way that I do things, it's like a 4-step process. So introduction and explanation to what it is, a demonstration, so me demonstrating it, then the exercise that you do, and then basically a recap questions. And I make sure everybody gets to this point before we move on. So I don't allow the trainings to continue till everybody thoroughly understands the thing we've just learned, because it's going to be important, because we're going to build on that on the next thing. So that's the way that we do it. The last thing, and you know, I've actually got somebody else I'm interviewing in 10 minutes. Somebody who's been through the course. So your NLP trained, background in education, relationship coach, working with lots and lots of people. There are some people watching this who are thinking, for this year, I need a tool, or I either want to start getting into therapy, or I want to add this to my tool set. I don't know, because there's a lot of courses out there. So how did you find it for value for money, aftercare support and sort of community? And what would you say to people who are watching this video thinking, should I do IEMT? Should I learn? Well, I don't care where you learn. I'd prefer if you learned it with me, you know, financially. I prefer it with me, but I don't mind, as I just want to get people trained in IEMT. That's my biggest goal. And I will take all comments. Like I say, in my group, in my Facebook group, where I spend a lot of time, I have people who've trained all over, but I will spend a lot of time in there answering a lot of questions and spending time to, again, it really is my aim to get people trained in IEMT and using it, because I know how good this is. So what do you have to say to people who are watching this thinking, I don't know? What do you have to say to these people?
Yeah, first of all, I'd say go for it, definitely. If anyone can be skeptical, I am one of those people, and it was definitely the best decision I have made. And if I'm to change this decision, if I'll rewind the time, I'll never change this decision. It was definitely brilliant, and I'm very happy I've made this decision. This tool has given me more confidence in working with clients.
Brilliant.
And more tools to serve them as well. Not just my confidence, my feeling that I am serving them in the best way that suits them without wasting any time or any energy for them. So it's definitely a brilliant tool. If you're thinking about it, just go for it. And I would also say training with you has been brilliant, as I said already before. And how you deliver the training is amazing. There's nothing to worry about. You'll just you stay with the people until they are confident. Even when I was doing my case studies, I send you a couple of emails to make sure I'm getting it right. I got a quick reply from you, very clear, and that makes you feel supported. So that is important. And the course is very good value for money. That's the most important thing. So it's not like a huge financial commitment where you need to think about it twice. Just do it. And it's going to give you skills and tools as if you've done a very expensive course.
Yeah. And I always say to people, you will probably cover the cost of this course with one client. You know, generally, if you get one client from this, and have you found that you're getting more clients because people are telling people about that tends to happen once you, the thing is with counseling, you could be in counseling for months and you don't know that person's in with IEMT, they look so different.
That's right.
People say, and so I tend to find that people get more work just through reputation and through referrals.
Absolutely. And you've seen on Facebook, someone already messaged me to say, can I be your client?
Yeah, absolutely. That was on the, so I do have a Facebook group, IEMT Academy or IEMT Support, you'll find it. And I'm there every day. I'm also going to start doing a monthly Q&A on Zoom with practice sessions as well. And again, that's for all comers and they'll be free of charge. But I'm also there. I do a lot of live videos and I do a lot of help to make sure that you're supported and confident in using these. Your website, how, if people want to come and see you for sessions, if they're in relationship, let's face it, relationship coaching is needed at the moment with all these lockdowns. If people want to come and see you to find out more about you, to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
So marywilliamcoaching.com, that's my website, and they'll find my NLP website there as well. And I'm very happy for anyone to call me or email me if they want to know about your course. Or
thank you. That's great.
Thank you. If they are thinking about it and unsure, like I was, they can email me on mary@nlpforkids.org, and I'd be very happy to arrange a call and answer their questions.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much for your time. Again, this has gone over. It always does. But once you start talking about this, you really get into it. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for taking part.
You're very welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.